I've known Adam since we were 13 years old. We grew up on the same street, walked to school together, played video games in his basement until midnight. When people talked about lifelong friendships, I always assumed ours would be one of them. Back then, we were equals. Same sneakers, same cheap bikes, same dreams about making it someday. But adulthood has a way of separating people quietly. After high school, I became obsessed with stability. My parents struggled financially when I was younger, and I remember the anxiety in the house whenever bills piled up. I promised myself I would never live like that again. So I worked hard, community college while working nights. No vacations, no expensive gadgets. I saved every bonus, learned about budgeting, built an emergency fund, slowly invested. Nothing glamorous, just consistency. Adam, on the other hand, lived loudly. He jumped between jobs because he hated being told what to do. He spent freely, upgraded his car before paying off the old one, took spontaneous trips. He always said I worried too much. Relax, he'd tell me. Money comes and goes. The first time he asked to borrow money, it was small. $200 for rent because his paycheck was delayed. Of course I helped. He paid me back 2 weeks later and thanked me sincerely. It felt normal, healthy, but that moment set a pattern neither of us acknowledged. Over the next few years, the requests became routine. His credit card was maxed. His car insurance lapsed. He needed help covering a deposit for a new apartment. Each time, I hesitated slightly more. But I still said yes. Because I told myself this is what loyalty looks like. What bothered me wasn't the money itself. It was the repetition. He never changed his behavior. Even while owing me, he'd post photos at concerts or show up wearing new shoes. I never said anything. I didn't want to sound judgmental. Then came the business idea. He told me he wanted to start a small online store. Said this was his turning point. He asked for $3,000 as a short-term loan. Promised detailed spreadsheets. Showed me projections. I believed him. I transferred the money. The store launched. For a few weeks, he was motivated. Then sales slowed. He lost interest. The project faded. Repayment? Delayed. Then postponed again. Eventually, I got most of it back, but only after multiple reminders. That's when something shifted inside me. I started feeling less like a friend and more like an emergency fund with a heartbeat. Still, I didn't confront him. Until the night everything exploded. He called me at 11:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I was about to sleep. His voice was shaking. He had taken out a high-interest short-term loan. He missed a payment. Fees were stacking. He owed around $5,000 and had no way to cover it. He asked if I could transfer the money by morning. No discussion. No plan. Just trust. I sat in silence. I had the money, technically, but giving it to him would wipe out nearly everything I had built for emergencies. The cushion that let me sleep peacefully at night. I told him I needed to think. He sounded irritated but said okay. That night I barely slept. I kept running scenarios in my head. If I say no, am I abandoning him? If I say yes, am I enabling him? The next morning, I called him back. I told him I couldn't do it. I explained calmly that I cared about him, but I couldn't risk my own financial security anymore. I offered to sit down with him, call the lender together, create a repayment strategy, even help him find extra work temporarily. He went quiet, then he laughed, not a friendly laugh, a sharp one. So all those years of friendship mean nothing when it actually costs you something? That stung. I reminded him of every time I had helped before. He said, yeah, when it was convenient. Convenient, that word echoed in my head. Was it convenient, or was it responsible? He accused me of acting superior because I managed money better. Said I thought I was smarter than him. Said real friends sacrifice. Then he said something that really hurt. If our roles were reversed, I wouldn't hesitate. I didn't know how to respond because I wasn't sure that was true. He had never been in a position to help me financially. Not once. Over the next few days, mutual friends started messaging me. Apparently, he told them I refused to help when he was desperate. That I had the money but chose not to give it. Some of them subtly implied that I was being cold. None of them knew the full history. None of them knew about the years of small loans. The business attempt, the constant cycle. A week later, I saw something unexpected. He sold his car and downgraded to a cheaper one. Picked up extra shifts at a warehouse. Canceled subscriptions. Negotiated the loan down. He survived, and that realization changed everything for me. Because it proved he had options. I was just the easiest one. Now our friendship feels different. He's distant, polite but guarded. There's resentment there, like I failed some invisible test of loyalty. Sometimes I question myself. Maybe I could have structured it as a formal loan with paperwork. Maybe I could have given half. Maybe I could have risked it one last time. But then I ask myself something harder. At what point does helping become enabling? At what point does loyalty turn into self-sabotage? I worked for years to build financial stability because I was terrified of insecurity. And when faced with protecting it or risking it for someone who repeatedly ignored consequences, I chose myself. Does that make me selfish? Or does it make me someone who finally learned to set boundaries? So, AITA for refusing to financially rescue my best friend after years of being his safety net? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos.